life I have been caught named by the voice of my shame and regret. Child, lift up your head. I remember, oh God, you're not done with me yet. And I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. I'm not who I used to be. I don't have to be the old man inside of me, 'cause this day is long, getting long. I've got a new name, a new life. I'm not the same. I hope that will carry me home. I am redeemed. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. No, I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed. Thank God redeemed. I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. Now I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
So much, Lord.
God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. God, I need you. Walking down this desert road, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. God, I need you. Your forgiveness. Walking slave to sin. I wanna know about being born again. I need you. God, I need you. So take me to the riverside. Take me under, baptize. I need you. God, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony to my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water on my Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I breathe a breath, you breathe your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Though the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God always chases me down, fights till I'm found in the 99, and I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all. You have been so, so kind. no shadow you won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99, and I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Praise God.
Thank you. That was awesome. Announcements, kiddos?
Brother Keepers is going to put on a fishing rodeo on July the 11th.
It's Brothers Keeper, Chrissy's house, and who else did
Who
it?
else is in on it, Dave?
Forgiven through Christ.
Mike Landers. Okay. And we want to thank Chrissy's house for being here tonight. Robin Haley, where's he at? We want to thank him. Tim Walker, we want to thank y'all. Larry Steele, we want to thank him. Anything else?
Matt Sharp, we want to thank you for coming.
Young man. What else did he say?
Dennis, what else?
Oh, you get Brother Robin?
Yeah.
Oh, Brother Robin, we want to thank you
Bob.
for coming.
Bob. Oh, Bob. I used to call him Bob all the time. Tim told me one night, he said, his name ain't Bob. Okay. What is his name? But anyway, he listened to me. We want to thank all y'all for coming.
We've got Matt Sharp, we've got Larry Steele, and Jeff over here. It's his birthday. Y'all know Jeff, right?
I think we said all the birthdays.
It was, his birthday was yesterday.
With kiddos.
Yeah, mine's every day.
Happy birthday, Dennis.
But anyway,
All right. I guess Larry Steele, if you want to come on up and.
amen.
Well, like you said, my name's Larry Steele, and man, I'm honored to be here tonight. I just want to let you know that. I tell you, sometimes I get nervous, and tonight's one of those nights. I guess every time I go somewhere different, I get a little bit nervous. But I tell you, I love the Lord tonight, and I just, as I was coming, I couldn't think of a better thing to preach on tonight than to speak about the prodigal son, because that's the thing that I relate to the most, is because I know where I've been at and where God's brought me from, and so that's what I relate to the most. So whenever I think about that, I think about where God's brought me from.
Amen.
And so I'm just going to give a little bit of a testimony, and then I don't know, I'll just let God have his way tonight. That's the best way to do it, is just let God have his way. But I was always raised not thinking I was ever going to be amount to anything, not ever thinking I was going to account to anything, and so man, I just had a tough time growing up, and sometimes I have a tough time whenever I get up here to preach a little bit, but
Come on, brother.
you know, whenever you're told that all your life, and you don't ever think you're going to amount to anything, and you're not ever going to get to anything yet, the thing you want to do is prove people wrong. And that's the thing about the prodigal son, is I think whenever we get about 17 or 18, we think we know everything, and we decide we're going to take off and we're going to figure this thing out. And I don't know about y'all, but I never could figure it out on my own. I tell you, I got to a place where I married a person that we ended up in a divorce before it was all over with. I ended up drinking a lot, smoking weed, just a lot of different things, addicted to cigarettes. We was talking about the cigarettes earlier. You know, sometimes people don't realize how that has a hold on your life, and I understand that. So when I see somebody that smokes, I don't try to pick on them, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that whenever I was got saved, I was saved, and I still smoke. So I ain't gonna sit there and pick on nobody about it. But I tell you, God did deliver me from those.
Amen.
Come on, let me tell you, God did deliver me from those. And so, you know, to don't put that out of your reach. Just if you see somebody and you think that it's okay that they're smoking, it's all right, don't limit yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't limit yourself tonight, because God can take away those cigarettes just like He can take away the alcohol, just like He can take away the drugs, and just like He can take away the porn addiction, just like He can take away any addiction tonight. So I'm not trying to speak on anybody that smokes, but I just want you to know tonight that God is able to take those things. I tell you, whenever I quit smoking, I quit. You can ask my wife. She said, "You'll never make it. You'll never make it." I smoked a pack of cigarettes from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock one night, and I said, "This is my last pack." And she said, "You're not ever going to make it." And I tell you, I went, first day it was tough. The second day it was tough. And I tell you, when it got to that third day, I was ready to choke somebody. Come on. I was ready to strangle somebody. And I just went in that night. And I'm telling you, I wasn't serving God where I needed to be serving Him at either at that time. But I went that night and I said, "God," I said, "I can't do this.
Amen. That's it.
I can't do this." And you know, when we figure out that we can't do something, God will show us that He can.
Amen.
And that's the thing about it. You know, whenever I told God that night, I said, "God, I can't do this."
Amen.
I tell you, He took those things away from me. You know what He said? David, He said, "All I needed from you was an effort. All I needed from you was something showing that you want to take them." I tell you, God has took me to a place since I quit, and since He delivered me from them, that I just could never believe. But tonight, as I was getting ready to speak, I was just thinking about how we mess up as kids, and how we think that we got this all figured out. I guarantee you, every one of us here tonight is thought we had it figured out on our own. And we go out here and we just take and we waste away our life. Come on. We waste away our life. And before you know it, we're 45 or 50 years old, and where's our life went? I tell you, I feel like that prodigal son, you know, he had went there and his father had given him everything, and he went out there and he just wasted it all. Come on, he just wasted it all. I'll tell you, there ain't no telling how many times, come on, that I thought that I had it all figured out. I would get just enough God, come on, just enough God to make it through that little bit, and then I say, "I got this from here. I got this from here. I'm going to take over from here, God." And the next thing you know, I was back in the liquor store. I was back down to the bars. I was back doing the same old mess I was doing before, and then before you know it, here I am, divorced again, I tell you. And so I've been married and divorced twice, and I've married 3 times, and I'm still preaching the gospel. Come on, I tell you the truth. Come on, I see a lot of people. I know a lot of people has problems with that, but I'm telling you, if God called me to preach, I don't care what anybody else tells me. I'm going to get up here and I'm going to preach until He sets me down from that. But
Amen, Brother Larry.
that's what the enemy wants us to do, though.
Come on.
You see, that prodigal son, he got out there and he got himself in a mess, and he was sitting there and he was eating with the pigs. We all know the story. I might not even get into my Bible tonight, but we all know the story. He was sitting there and he was eating with the pigs. And the first thing he thought of, come on, we got to get to a place. Come on, I don't know about, we got to get to a place to where we realize and where we know. Come on, that we done went about as far as we can go. And I tell you, I went there a few times. Come on, it took me a few times. I didn't get it right the first time, Marvin. Some people might have got down to that altar window and got it right the first time. But you know, it took me a few times. I had to go back down there a few more times before I got it.
Amen.
But we have to get to a place to where we know, I tell you, and God will allow us to get to that place. Come on. The thing about God is, come on. But anyway, the enemy, I'm just going to get back to the enemy. The enemy wants you to think that you done messed up and you ain't going to get no better. You're not worthy anymore. Come on. That's what he tries to do. That's what I tell you. Whenever I got this last divorce, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I was mad at God. I was upset at God, and I just, my dad, he had been praying for me. He said, I'm praying whatever it takes, boy, whatever it takes. And I went to my daddy, I said, boy, Dad, you need to quit praying that way. You need to quit praying that way, whatever it takes. And then I was upset with God. And I done went down as far, I just tell you the truth, I thought I got so far down, David, that I was never going to be anything from there. I thought that I done got so far that this was it. This was the best my life was going to be, and it wasn't going to get any better. And I tell you, I was starting to slip back into my old habits of drinking and going to the bars and stuff again. And one of my aunts, she told me, she said, you're going to be preaching the gospel. And I said, woman, you done lost your mind.
Come on.
You done lost your mind. But you know what? God had other plans, I tell you tonight. Come on, God had other plans. You know, I was down there and I was down about as low as I could go again. I done, like I said, it took me a while. God called me to preach back in 98, I believe it was. I was trying to think today for sure what it was, and I believe it was 98. And I ran, and I tell you, the thing about God is he knew I was going to mess up. You see, God knew that we was going to mess up all that time. The enemy would like to make you think that that you messed up and there's no way coming back and you're not going to get anything, it's not going to get any better. But God knew we was going to mess up when we messed up. I tell you, God knew I was going to run, David, whenever he called me to preach the first time. And whenever I run and got a divorce and got drunk for a year, come on, then ended up jumping into something I shouldn't have jumped in again. God knew all that stuff.
Yes,
it didn't even surprise him a little bit. Come on. It didn't even surprise him a little bit. But you know, I'd given up on it. I thought that I got so far that I couldn't come back from it.
I know, right?
And that's what the enemy would like for us to think, that we got so far that we couldn't come back from it. You see, the prodigal son, he sat there and he got to a place to where he was down. Come on, he was eating with the hogs. You see, he was down there and he was eating with the hogs, and he thought, you know, this is about as low as it could go. If I could just get back to my father's house, at least maybe I could just be a servant. We got to get to a place to where we know that anything but where we're at's better than where we're at. Come on. Anything is better than where you're at. Whenever you're down that low and you just don't think, I tell you, I moved away from my family. I didn't want to be around my family. I didn't want them to know what I was doing and the things I'd done.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to stay away from them. And I said, whenever I moved away, that I'd never come back. And God, whenever he saved me, he brought me back.
Amen. Amen.
But anyway, you get down to where you know, come on, that you're at the bottom, and there's got to be something better than what we're doing.
Amen.
There's got to be something better than what we're doing. You see, we're sitting there, we're thinking that we're not worthy anymore. Come on, see, God knew that we was going to get hooked on alcohol. Come on, God knew that you was going to get hooked on drugs. Come on, methamphetamines or whatever. God knew that you was going to get hooked up with somebody that you shouldn't have married and get a divorce. And God knew all these things, and he still, come on, loved us. Come on, he still chose us. Come on. He knew all these things, and he still, I'm telling you tonight that God knew all these things, and he still, come on, didn't just throw us away.
Amen.
Come on, when we throw our own self away, everybody else had done throwed us away. Everybody else had done said, hey, you're not going to get any better than that. Come on. I didn't even want to live close to anybody because I didn't want them to know that I was failing, that I wasn't doing like I was supposed to. Come on. But God knew the whole time. And you know what? Whenever He called me to preach in '98, He never left me. He never left me. Come on, I might have left Him, but He never left me. I know that He chased me around just like a hound dog. He'd come after me everywhere I was at. You know, He'd say, son, I got something that ain't where I got planned for you. This ain't where I got you, where you're supposed to be at. But come on. He still come after me and would say, come on, every time, it wouldn't matter. Come on, you'd know you was doing something wrong. Here comes the conviction of the Holy Ghost. Come on, here would come the conviction of the Holy Ghost. And the devil would still try to make you think that you went far enough that you couldn't come back from that. And so this guy, he was down there, and I tell you, that's the reason I thought about this tonight, is just, we mess up. We mess up. But you know what? God knew that we was going to mess up. And God would, come on, people would like you to make you think that God is sitting there just waiting to send you to hell. Just sitting there waiting to send you to hell. Matt was talking about this earlier. We get to a place sometimes that we think that we just ain't doing enough. We ain't doing enough. We need to do more. We need to do this. The enemy comes and he tries to tell us that we ain't getting there and we're not getting there. And then, come on. But God knew that we was going to mess up. God knows what we're doing right now. He knew that we was going to be here tonight. He knew who was going to be here tonight. And I tell you, He knew that we was going to mess up, just like I said. Come on. And He knew whenever we left the home, when we thought we had it all figured out, what was going to happen. I tell you, come on, I believe my daddy, he knew whenever I got married that first time that it was going to end in a divorce. I believe he told me. He said, boy, you better step back and think about this a minute. And I done had it all figured out, so I didn't. I don't know about anybody else, but I always had it figured out. I always had it figured out, even whenever I get down there. And I tell you, whenever you go out some night and wake up the next morning, you know you had $1,000 or $2,000 in your pocket, and you wake up the next morning and all your money's gone.
I hate that.
Come on, all your money's gone, your truck payments due, your house rent's due. Come on. You know what I'm talking about. Your lights is about to get shut off, and here you done went out and you done spent all your money on a bunch of people that don't even know who you are the next day. Come on. You know what I'm talking about. So, man, that's a tough place to be. But that's a tough place to be. But you see, God knew. Even when I was doing that stuff, I was sitting there thinking the other day, there was times I went to some concerts and I'd spend $1,000. Sometimes I'd go to the bar and I'd spend $1,000, and it wasn't nothing to go out and spend that and then wake up the next day and wonder how I'm going to get gas to get to work. Come on. Come on. You know what I'm talking about. And I tell you, wonder how I'm going to get food to make it through the week. Come on. And then you'd be all mad because you'd be mad because nobody wouldn't loan you any money. Come on. You know what I'm talking about. I'd be calling Dad up and he'd say, boy, what'd you do with your money you just made this week? I know you just finished your job. And you'd go to some cockamamie story of how you wouldn't tell the truth. He probably would have given me money if I told him the truth sometime, but you know, I had a good way of coming up with stories. But you know, that's how we are. We get in that place and we run out there and we just waste everything. And I tell you, we get to a place where we feel like we're not going to come back. And I tell you, I've been there a few times. And I tell you, I run from it. I remember I moved down to where Wendell was at for a few years, and I thought I could get away from things, and things happened down there. It didn't matter where you went to or whatever, you know. I would never get real enough with God. Come on. Never get real enough with God to allow Him just to take over my life. You know, you just want you want God, but you don't want to give up all the other stuff either. You know, you're thinking it. You know, the enemy likes to make you think that if you're serving God, that it's going to be boring. I tell you, I ain't had a boring day since I started praising and worshiping God. And since I started serving Him, I haven't had a boring day. Matter of fact, some days it just blows me away at things that He does. Come on. It just blows me away. Come on. So whenever you can sit up outside like this, and we're living in a country where we can sit up outside like this and just have church.
Amen.
Just get in here and have church.
Amen.
But you know, the thing about God is, and this is what I wanted to get to tonight, is the thing about God is, you know, I was talking about, I was mad at Him. Anybody in here ever been mad at God? You got yourself in a mess, and you're mad at God because you got yourself in a mess. That's what I do. I get myself in some predicaments. Come on, when my car get repoed, I was mad at God. Come on, I get kicked out of my house, I was mad at God. Come on, I spend all my money, I was mad at God. Come on.
Right.
And I was at a place where I was mad at God, and I just said, you know, Zelda told me, she said, you're going to be preaching the gospel. And I said, woman, you done lost your mind. You done lost your mind. I done went too far now. You know, I done had 2 divorces. 2 divorces, and at that time I was thinking, boy, if you had 1 divorce, you couldn't preach anymore. You might as well hang that up.
Yeah.
And so I done hung up the thought of ever preaching and all that. And then one night I was sitting there and I was going to pay my uncle, and some of y'all know this story. I was going to pay my uncle. One of my uncles was working for me at the time, and he has a church there in Ball Knob, and they was having a revival. And I was going in there to pay him that night. He called me, he said, I want you to just bring my money to the church. And I said, well, all right. I said, I'm going to take my money to the church there. And I was arguing about it. I sat down in the parking lot and I said, God, this is how it's going to be. I said, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pay him his money, and then I'm back out of here, and that's all there is to it. But you know what? My goodness, whenever I pulled up in that church parking lot and whenever I got out of the car, he was sitting on the porch waiting on me.
Amen.
You see, God was sitting on the porch waiting. Come on. He's been sitting there waiting the whole time for us. Come on. We think that we've got out there too far, and God's sitting right there waiting the whole time. He's not waiting to send us to hell like the enemy tries to tell us he's trying to do.
Right.
He's not sitting there waiting to beat us over the head and say, I told you so.
Right.
But I'm telling you, he's sitting right there, and whenever he seen his son coming up there, it said that he didn't just sit there. Come on, when he seen him coming from afar off.
Amen.
You see, he seen me coming that night. He seen me coming that night. Whenever I was walking up in that church building, I thought I had it all figured out. He seen me coming that night, and I tell you, he was already on his way to meet me. He was already on his way to meet me. I'm telling you, come on, when we get to a place to realize that God ain't sitting there. And that's what we need to do, is preach the gospel again. We need to get to a place to where we're preaching the gospel again. Quit trying to beat people over the head with hell and just preach the gospel. You know, there is a hell, and we're going to go there if you don't get saved. There's no doubt about it. But God is not sitting there waiting to send you to hell. He's sitting there waiting on you and waiting to see you come back in. He's waiting for you to come home.
Yeah.
Come on, that's what he's doing. He's waiting for folks to come home.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're living in a time right now that we're going to see some folks come home.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, their daddy is sitting on the porch and he's looking for them. I'm telling you, come on. We got some kids, come on, right now that I know that God is sitting there and he's waiting for them to come home. He's not waiting to send them to hell. He's waiting on them to come home, because that's what he wants.
Amen.
He wants us to come home.
Amen.
He wants us to come home. He don't want us to go to hell. Come on. He don't want us to sit there and say, I told you so. My daddy might have told me I told you so a few times. Come on, but God wasn't sitting there waiting to tell me that. I tell you, I walked in that church and I didn't even know what the preacher was saying. I don't even know what songs was being played or what was even going on that night. Come on, I just went in there, and all I know is I made it down to the altar. Come on, I was sitting there thinking the whole time, this is not what I'm going for.
Right.
I'm just going to go in here and paying that money, but God was sitting there waiting to meet me. He was sitting there, he run to meet me. Come on, he runs to meet us. He don't just wait on us. He don't just wait on us. Come on, he wasn't surprised by what we was going to do. He wasn't surprised about what we done. He wasn't surprised about all the mess that we done and all the running away we done. He wasn't surprised by it. He wasn't set back by it. He was sitting on the porch and he was waiting on us to come home so he could run out there and meet us. Come on.
Amen.
Come on. And I tell you, whenever this guy said God, or told his dad, he said, I'm not worthy. Come on. I'm not worthy to be your son anymore. Come on. I'm not worthy to be your son anymore. And he says, go get me a coat. Come on. He's sitting there waiting with a robe of righteousness to put on us.
Yeah.
Come on. He's got a ring to put on, and he's got a celebration to take place.
Amen.
Come on.
Amen.
He's got a celebration to take place. I tell you, there's a celebration that's going to be taking place whenever we come into the kingdom of God. Whenever we come back home. I'm telling you, come on, I wasted 45 years before I really got it right. Come on, and I still ain't really got it right. I still struggle every day. I still got things that I struggle with. But I'm telling you, I'm a lot closer than I was way back then.
Amen.
I finally got to a place to where I got real with God. And come on, and whenever he met me that night, come on. When he met me that night, I knew that there was something different about that night than any other night that I'd met him at an altar. Come on, there was something about that night. I didn't sit there and try to hold back things. I didn't try to just give him part of it. Come on, I wasn't even expecting to give him none of it, but whenever I got there, I just poured it out and let him have it all. Come on, and when we let him have it all, come on, when we let him have it all, come on. And when we get to that place, we ain't got much left. Not much left, but when we let him have it all, you see, he wants us to give him our everything, all our junk and all our mess, everything that's been holding us back and keeping us back. And when we give him that, see, he wants us to give him that so he can be our everything. So he can be our everything. What is it? 6:33, ain't it? 6:33, Matthew 6:33. Seek you first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added on to you. Come on. That says whenever you seek him and give him everything, that's when he can be your everything.
Amen.
That's when he can change your life. I'm telling you, that's when he can take those drugs. And like I said, those cigarettes, come on. Don't let me knock on anybody for smoking tonight, but I just feel the need to say this tonight. Don't just stop when God takes one thing. Come on, don't just limit yourself and say this is as far as I'm going to go with God. Because God wants to take you further than what you even realize. And every time you give God something, every time that you surrender something to God, God has got something better to give you in your life. He's got a deeper walk with him. He's got a place that he's going to take you, come on, that's even deeper than what you could even imagine. Come on. So don't just stop. Don't just stop and say this is all. Don't just stop and say, come on, I can't get past this. No, you can't, but God can, and he already did. Come on tonight. That's the thing we got to figure out, that we can't do it, but he did it. He did it tonight, y'all.
Hallelujah.
He did it tonight. Come on. He seen everything that we was going to do, and he still sat there and waited on us.
Amen.
I tell you, I sat there and I think about that. You know, I got a little girl that's in Florida right now. I told you I've been married and divorced a couple times, and I got a little girl in Florida right now that was the result of that last marriage, and she was supposed to be here right now with me. And I texted her the other day and I said, are you gonna, they was in Arkansas, they was in BB, and I said, are you gonna come to the house tomorrow? Or she said, no. She said, I just want to go back home with my mom. And I said, well, you know, Sunday's Father's Day. And she said, and?
He said,
and I thought to myself, you know, I couldn't get mad at her, because I sat there and I thought to myself, how many times has God come to me? How many times has I been invited to church? How many times had somebody told me about Jesus, and I just said, and. I said, you know, that must have been how he felt. You know, we sit there and we think God's probably angry and mad, but I tell you, he's more than anything. He's hurt whenever he sees one of us running out. He's hurt whenever he sees us doing these things to ourselves. He's hurt. And so I sit there and I think, you know, I can't be mad at that little girl. She's just experienced what's going on in her life. You know, they took her to Florida, and I knew whenever they took her down there that it was fixing to be a struggle on our relationship. We was pretty tight. I mean, it was just about inseparable. And then, and now she said, and I just thought, my goodness, you know, I can't. I told Tammy, I said, you know, I can't get caught up in getting upset with her or whatever. I just gotta lay her on that altar.
Amen, Lord.
And trust God, because I know when I give him her, it's going to just be like everything else I give him. He's going to come back and something's going to happen, and he's going to take care of it. And so, but you know, I was down, just to be honest with you, I was down to nothing pretty much. I was down to the truck I had at one time. I was down to that truck, and I was behind on the payments on it. Come on, got down to nothing, and God has restored everything in my life since there. I tell you, he's brought me a beautiful wife that, come on, knows how to. She knows how to get down on her knees and touch heaven. And I tell you, you cannot make it being married if both of you ain't on the same page. It just is tough. But whenever God's got somebody and he puts you together and he puts you on the same page, and I tell you, my business is doing good. I'm working more than I'm working more. I'm about like David there. I got more work than I can do right now, and we got a nice house that we live in. She's got a nice Volkswagen, nice car. But you know, God restores everything. I thought that I would never have anything. I'd done give up on even having anything. But I didn't have nothing till I found Jesus. Didn't have nothing till I found Jesus. And I don't know, that's exactly how I come to share this tonight, but I believe that's what God says, what he wants to say. And I tell you, I just feel, if you're here tonight and you still got something that you're hanging on to, can I do this? Is it all right? If you've got something that you're still hanging on to, I'm just going to challenge you tonight to come up and just give it to God. Just give it to God. Something that's holding you back, something that's keeping you from going forward. Or if you don't know Jesus tonight would be a good night to know him. Amen. But I'm going to challenge you tonight, if you got something that you know God's been talking to you about, you know he's been speaking to your heart about, tonight would be a good night to just give it to him. And just say, God, I'm surrendering it all to you tonight. I'm just giving it all to you. Anybody? Anybody? If not, I'm just going to turn it back over to y'all. I'll sit there and holler, but I appreciate you guys, and thank y'all for having me out tonight. Amen.
Are you hurting and broken within? Overwhelmed by the weight of your sin? Jesus is called. Have you come to the end of yourself? Do you thirst for a drink from the well? Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness is bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. The blood. Leave behind your regrets and mistakes. Come today, there's no reason to wait. Jesus is calling. Bring your sorrows and trade them for joy. Neath the ashes, a new life is born. Jesus is calling. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness is bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. And oh, what a Savior! Isn't He wonderful? Sing hallelujah. Christ is risen. Bow down before Him, for He is Lord of all. Sing hallelujah. Christ is risen. Oh, come to the altar. The Father's arms are open wide. Forgiveness is bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Bear your cross as you wait for the crown. Tell the world of the treasure you found.
Thank y'all for coming. Thursday night, it's 6 o'clock, David? 6 o'clock at BB, Chrissy's house. If you ain't ever been there, you need to go down. Real fun. Got good eating down there too. The rodeo is on July the 11th at 10 o'clock. Anybody else got any announcements? Dennis, you got anything to say?
David, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Brother Robert?
I'm good.
Anybody?
Jeff Fisher will be speaking, so nothing miss that.
Okay. Jeff Fisher will be speaking.
Carl Cooper will be there Thursday night at Chrissy's house.
Okay. Carl Cooper. Thursday night, 6 o'clock. Okay. I'm going to ask Tim Walker if he'll dismiss us.
We know that you still have a covenant with your people, Father God, which we are. And we pray for your divine move, Father God, in this world. We know we can't change it. We know you can, Father. And we just look to you, Father, the word says, author and finisher of our faith, Father. Father God, as your word says, my people who are called by my name, will I will accept, pray, turn from the wicked way, to seek my face. I'll hear them, I'll forgive their sins, I'll heal their land, Father God. We ask you for goodness and manna, Father God. And I simply pray tonight is, Father, that your kingdom come, Father. My life is your kingdom.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you.